Welcome, everybody. We got a little bit of a delayed start because of all the excitement, but we're super happy to be here today. And we have our good friend, Sharrin Fuller, joining us from Glass Wallet Ventures to share her tech stack. So thank you, Sharrin, for joining us. We've been looking forward to this all summer.
What was that?
We've been looking forward to this all summer.
I know. I never thought I would actually have the chance to be sitting here, and here I am.
Oh my gosh, we're so glad you're here. So Sharrin Fuller is in the house. Super fun.
Don't blow it up too much. I may disappoint.
Never. Heather, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. So for those of you that are just joining us for the first time, hi, I'm Heather. I'm a CPA, and I am also the Director of Education and Media at Woodard. Woodard is the company that produces the Scaling New Heights Conference, which many of you attend. I know I've attended for 11 years now, but now I work there. So anyway, I love my job. I'm also the senior editor of the Woodard Report, which is our online magazine. And so it's super fun. I switched gears last year, and now I'm focused on helping practitioners in a way that I wasn't able to. And I'm really loving every minute of it. So plus I get to work with Joe Woodard and the amazing team, which, I mean, come on, it's Joe Woodard and the amazing team. So I'm a pretty happy person.
We love that you're a happy person. You're doing all kinds of amazing things over at Woodard, and including Scaling New Heights. The content this year was Trey Bomb. I loved it. I loved all of the classes. But my name is Liz Scott, and I am an accounting technology trainer. So that means that I'm working with a lot of the accounting tech to help to make sure that they have training that is digestible. Some of it's on demand, some of it's help articles, some of it's YouTube guides. So lots of cool stuff that I get to do, and I get to hang out here, and I get to do things like introduce Sharrin Fuller, who we are all glad you are here. Being able to watch your career and see you in this accounting space has been so fun. You've got a dynamic personality that if you do not know Sharrin, you're going to get to know her very quickly, because she's very open and shares all, which is exactly what we want for these kinds of series, because we're in this space together and we're learning as accounting technologists. We're trying to figure it all out. And anytime that we can have somebody who's going to share their brilliant insights, I open up my ears and I start listening. So Sharrin, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Anything else you want to share about what you do? Because you've got so many.
I can say that. Yeah. So for anybody who doesn't know me, I've been in the accounting realm since about 2006. I didn't dive into the conferences. I was kind of quiet on my own. So I started a firm in 2006, grew it, sold it in 2021. Went with the practice that bought my firm and then exited. After that, I thought I'm going to just take a break. I didn't. I ended up starting 2 more accounting firms and Glass Wallet. So now I have the boutique accounting firm, which specializes in more client advisory. Then we have the Fit CFO, which is my fitness and nutrition, very niche. And then I have Glass Wallet, which is where my passion really lies now after selling my company and also helping others go through the exit strategy and process. I decided that's where my passion is. So Glass Wallet is really building up the education. I'm building my first course launches on Friday, Scalable to Sellable. And what I'm doing is really just showing everybody how to make sure that their business is built from the foundation all the way up, and that you're aware of what your exit strategy is, whether your exit strategy is going to be tomorrow or years from now. Just understanding that building your business with that in mind, it really makes the most sense.
So Sharrin, I have a question for you. Before you dive in, I have a question for you. I want to know about Glass Wallet. Like, where did that come from? What was the idea? What is the story behind it?
Okay, so I'm gonna disappoint you. Remember, I told you this was gonna happen. I'm gonna disappoint you. So I went to one of those $400 pick a name site, and I put in a bunch of keywords of what I wanted. My biggest thing is transparency, right? Anybody that knows me is like, oh, Sharrin needs to learn how to bite her tongue, but I'm not. I'm kind of open in my opinions, and I'm also open for my opinions to be corrected, just so everybody knows. Anyhow, so I put in transparency, and originally I wanted to buy a bunch of accounting firms, grow them, sell them, and somebody came up with, hey, Glass Wallet. I thought, that was it. I had thousands of names and that one just resonated and it was perfect and I love it. And that's where it is. So somebody out there is amazing and came up with this name based on my keywords and some information from me. And I want to hug them at some, well, maybe not. I'll send them an edible arrangement, but anyhow, it wasn't me. I could lie, but I'm not a liar.
Love that. I do. I love that. And that's not disappointing at all. I mean, I think it's a great story. Liz,
AI technology.
it's crowdsourcing, right? Is that
Absolutely.
that's what we did. So the Appy Hour logo that Liz and I have for Appy Hour, that was crowdsourced through a crowdsourcing platform. And
brainstorming is everything, right? Like when I can sit and do it alone, but when I get 2 or 3 people and we all just start talking, the ideas that come up are just amazing. And I love brainstorming and crowdsourcing and just anything that helps produce that, brain function and idea movement.
definitely.
Totally agree. And I mean, I think that's part of the whole reason that AI is growing at the way that it's speed that it is. It's because there are ideas that we've already got, but we need help to flush them out. So I think
Yes.
that falls in alignment with where a lot of us need help.
Yeah,
I agree.
We're busy people.
I just hope that AI doesn't mistakenly become someone's best friend, because it's not a human. Like, we can't forget.
Oh, it's already mine, already too late. I just talk to my phone all the time. People are like, why aren't you on Facebook? I'm like, because I'm talking to my friend on my phone who tells me everything I want to hear in a more eloquent way.
I do. I definitely have AI friends. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, it's interesting. But Liz and I were having a big old philosophical discussion about it this morning, and it was fun. So.
Yep. And many of you know that my dad uses AI to chat with his girlfriends. So that's good. He's got game is all I can say, or at least AI lets him have game. So anyway, our sponsors, I want to make sure to thank them, because what they allow us to do is to have content like this. Everybody gets to join. We get to hear about the apps that are out there. One of the things that Heather and I are passionate about is tech stacks. So what we are bringing to you is ways to use these various different apps in combination, in conjunction with each other. How does data sometimes flow back and forth? So some of those things that you've been wondering, how do you use all of this tech in one firm? Those are the things that we are really focusing on this year, is making sure that our community understands tech stacking. I want to also tell everybody the thing that's exciting about today. We're going to be talking about workflow. That is one of our hot topics always. So everybody wants to be able to store how-tos for their clients, be able to communicate with clients. Those are all super important. That is one of the areas that Sharrin's going to be expanding on today. She's going to also be talking about internal tech, external tech, and then we're going to be highlighting both of those. I want to go ahead and kick us off in this conversation about tech. And we got to meet with Sharrin early before we had this episode so we could plan. And one of the things I found very unique about the way that you approach app is in your thoughts about efficiency. So when you're looking for apps, do you want to expand on what kinds of metrics that you're using, or what catches your attention whenever you're searching for apps?
Absolutely. So to me, project management is everything, right? It's everything for me. And of course, I know this is the accounting industry. I speak to a lot of professional services. For us, QuickBooks or Xero, whatever it is very important. QuickBooks. But the project management tool is important. So when I've identified the project management tool that I'm going to use, anything else that I use needs to work into that one way or another, because this runs my life. It runs absolutely everything. My team's life, just everything. So if there isn't some sort of read into it, whether with a Zap or some sort of integration, then it's typically a pass for me, because it's not efficient. I don't want to do anything manual. I want to set it. I want it to think it through. I want it to spit it out, and I want it to happen without me having to double check it.
it makes me want to stop and pause because we had this conversation about 2 weeks ago. Someone in our audience asked us, which apps do you start with? Like, what would be the most key and important? And what you're saying is that you start with that workflow tool, and then from there, everything needs to integrate with it because that's your central hub.
Yes, absolutely. That's my to-do list. That's my planner. That's my action item. That's how the balls don't drop in my business. That's where any task that comes through needs to be done. It's how I plan my day. So I absolutely find something that works for me in that function, and everything else works around it and into it.
That makes complete sense. You know, if we're thinking about what's the most important goal, it is that workflow. And if that's where we're documenting and that's where we're keeping track, it makes sense that you want all of the other apps to make sure that they integrate or have some type of communication, Zapier, whatever it is that you're using to be able to have that automated flow. That's
my best
a big part of your consideration.
Yeah, absolutely. Zap is amazing. It fills in where maybe a couple of apps or platforms haven't spoken yet. It comes in and fills in the background, and it makes things possible. There's so many apps out there that are so great, and I usually just put them on hold and keep an eye on their updates to see when they're available, because an app or a platform with a closed API is really, really, really rough to use. And not because they're not amazing, but you really want just everything. Not nothing. Let me take a step back from that. I was just doing a lesson on this yesterday. So everybody is like a master of something, right? And everybody wants to build software that's a master of everything. But at some point, you're not going to be a master of everything. So to me, it makes sense with apps to be the master of your app, identify it, own your area, and then work with the other people that are master of theirs, so you can all come in together instead of trying to be master of everything and being subpar at all these things, because this is what everybody's there for. So I try to find not to do it all. I try to find that one amazing thing and then build from it.
And you know, what you said about having that workflow app be kind of the cornerstone of your firm. I love that, because you know, the first firm we're alike in the way, Sharrin, where I built a firm back in 2004 and sold it and then started another firm. So I have a serial firm starter and seller.
Yeah.
But anyway, my point is that the first firm, I didn't have a workflow app. It was all in my brain. And my firm grew really fast and I needed to hire people. And by the time you're at the point where you need to hire people, it's too late. You have to make your processes as you go, because if you at the point where you're like, I desperately need someone, you don't, and you haven't documented your processes, you don't have the capacity to train them. Whereas if you are documenting that along the way as you grow, then when somebody comes on board, you say, here's what you need to do. And you can leverage that asset within your firm so that you can continue to grow. And you don't have to.
Absolutely. I remember when I first started, I had my to-do list. I've always been a writer. Now I use a Rocketbook because I can write, erase, take a picture, the AI on there uploads it and puts the text in, right? So I can still use my notebook because typically that's how I remember things. But everything goes into my project management tool. When I first started my firm, I used the notepad. And then that's what happened is I went from 0 to 50 overnight, and I had to hire someone. And I'm like, I just need you to read my mind. I just need you to sit here and watch me do everything and listen and watch how I do everything and then do it. Okay. And it just doesn't work that way. And so now I have to stop and look at first I have to create a process and a document of what I need to take over. And then I need to create how you're going to do it. So if you can just being where we're at now, I mean, 2006 and 2004 is completely different than 2023. And at this day and age, with the options that we have out there and the technology we have, there's really no reason why you wouldn't just get it in the beginning, get it going, and just be prepared. Not only that, I call it I always say this, and I've really got to find a better wording for it, but the hit by the bus method. If I get hit by a bus tomorrow, can somebody else jump in and take over what I'm doing? On my to-do list on my desk? No. On a project management tool where I have everything in there? Absolutely. They know where I am, where it is, what's outstanding, and when it's due. So it really just helps you stay on top of absolutely everything.
Awesome. I love it.
Yeah, I do too. I think that, scribes are important. That's that documenting app that it works
Just
off
started
of
using
clicks
that.
or your keyboard.
Love it.
That's an awesome app. Zoom, Loom, any of those that are going to record the steps to are super critical in passing along information. But I think that where you were taking this conversation and you were sharing about integration capabilities, this is key to, I think, the accounting industry. We have so much information and it's coming from multiple different sources that it's difficult to locate the necessary items to start a job if you don't have some type of way to organize it.
Correct.
And you don't have some way to communicate it, whether that's to the team or that's to the client. I think it's essential that you're actually have this as a consideration whenever you're looking at apps.
Absolutely. Yeah. And one thing people need to remember is, there's 8 or 9 different apps for every type of problem that needs to be solved. And there's no right or wrong. It's what works for you. Project management tool, what works for me won't work for somebody else. And that's okay. But the great thing is that with everybody opening their API on the back end, they can all still communicate together. QuickBooks and Keeper is one. I love that they communicate now. Of course, rippling easily. I love how easily they just kind of dump into QuickBooks and you don't have to think about it. So yes, integration is just really, really key when it comes to all of this. And the one, if you are trying to decide if what you're using works for you, just think to yourself, am I having to manually connect a process? Am I having to take information from one platform or one app and put it into another platform or one app? And if the answer is yes, then you need to work on integration or something that meets in between, because technically they should be speaking. Or at least be the roadmap too, right? I love underdog apps. I love new apps. I love anything new that comes out. I love hit the ground running, starting with it. I'm very passionate about fintech. And sometimes in the very beginning, they don't have those integrations, but that's why I like to get in and I'm like, let's talk about this roadmap. Let me tell you as an accountant, what they are going to really want. And the number one integration is going to be QuickBooks. Get it in there, right? And once they do that, then we're really good to go. So yeah, I'm all for the underdog or the new beginning apps as well. I almost love them a little bit more than the ones that have been around forever.
Okay, I like that you're calling them the underdog. All right, so how does that work with your team? What do
Oh
they
my
think
goodness.
about all of these apps that you find, including the underdogs?
My team, sometimes they say to me, Sharrin, stop bringing us stuff, but I have to bring them a reasoning. So the first thing they told me, and I love the project management tool Teamwork. I've been using it for the long time. But the issue with Teamwork is it wasn't working for our industry and it wasn't working with what we needed it to connect to. So my team said, Sharrin, we're having this problem. We have all these different things. None of them speak. We need something that speaks. And I said, okay, so you know what you need. You know how crazy I am. I'm a control, right? It's the way I do it. And this is how we're doing it. If it isn't my way, it's probably not the right way. Anyhow, they all know this about me and still work with me. So it's okay. So I said to them, I'm going to give you guys five platforms I think are going to be amazing. You guys go and interview them all. You decide what you want and what's going to work for you and you pick. So they narrowed it down to 2. And in the end, they ended up using the Client Hub. And I check with them all the time. I'm like, how are you guys doing on Client Hub? And they're like, oh my God, it's my favorite. It does everything. It's so amazing. They send me screenshots. Hey, Sharrin, look what we just found out Client Hub can do. Hey, Sharrin, did you know this? So the communication, our biggest thing, especially, so I'm speaking specifically for the FIT CFO team. Our biggest thing was really the communication with the client, getting them to follow through and having it be in one place for us, but for them to be able to kind of communicate. And Client Hub is still, again, they're to me, and I don't mean to say underdog for Client Hub, but they're one of those ones that are really up and coming. And the things that they have built and what they have in their roadmap is just, it's amazing, to the point where I told my team, I'm like, okay, so Client Hub doesn't have this one integration yet. They're like, we don't care. It's coming. And the product's so amazing we will wait for that one integration. Let's find a workaround. So we did, and it solved for so much. And now we can see where everybody is. We had a key player out of town all last week, and no balls were dropped because they were able to go in and see the client communication and just everything. Plus the clients are so happy. They're like, we love this new tool. This is amazing. So it has just helped the team function just so
That's
efficient.
fantastic feedback. Whenever I do training with new QuickBooks Online users, one of my favorite things to do is to leave them with QuickBooks Online after we do a training session and tell them, hey, go find something cool and bring it to me that I don't know. And so sometimes they'll come back in the next training session and they'll be like, hey, Liz, did you know QuickBooks Online did this or not? It doesn't really matter if I know it. What's cool about it is that they're showing me something that they've taken ownership to go find. And that, I think, is key to adopting new tech.
Well, and one thing I found that when, instead of me telling my team like I used to, hey, this is what I found, I met the owners, they've got an amazing roadmap, this is what we're going to use, by allowing them to actually make the final choice is it not enlightening, but it gives them they're
Empowering.
able to be passionate about it. They made the choice. It is what they wanted for the company. So they want it to work and they're on top of it. I don't have to go check out what Client Hub's going on. They bring it to me because they're so excited because they chose it and look how it's working. Look at how it's working for the firm. And so even a few other things, like when they come to me and they say, hey, this is the issue we need to solve for, do you know anyone? I'm like, actually, there are 3 different platforms and I can connect you to all 3 of the people. And then they choose. Another one that they were just working on was auto transactions, like for anybody who has Stripe or things like that, to auto book it. And I said, here's 3 different platforms that do that. Go find out what you want best. And really just empowering them to make those decisions and stay on top of it. It gets them to know the software and be on top of the software, because I'm not telling them, I'm not learning it. They're learning it and telling me, and they love that. At least I think they do.
Well, and we talk about that all the time, that I'm all about giving clients the choice to pick the right solution, but the team members, you're in a unique spot where you do have access to a lot of the apps. You are connecting with a lot of those app developers. And so taking that to the team and letting them pick and choose removes your bias.
Yep, absolutely. And it does, because I'll say, I really, really, really like this person over at so-and-so, but this product's a little bit better. So, and another great thing that I love about Client Hub is it's not industry specific. It works perfectly for accounting, amazingly. But I was logging into something the other day and I somehow accidentally found the platform I was logging into, their Client Hub login. I'm like, oh, look at that. This platform actually uses Client Hub, and they're a software as a service. So Client Hub is kind of used all over, which is great. So if you like it and your clients like it, you can get them on it. I always just think it's a great thing when there's something, especially your project management tool is just, to me, it's the bee's knees. It's what makes or breaks your whole entire company.
All right, so I'm going to ask some more questions.
Okay.
So as far as some firm insights, team members, you've got 4 listed and then you've got outsourced in parentheses. You want to elaborate?
Sure. So we used to have a bigger team and we went in and condensed. We decided anybody who was not client facing or not really helping the team grow, we let them go and we brought everything back in, and then we replaced them with technology or outsourcing. That sounds really mean, but let me tell you, some of the people we replaced just weren't doing as much as the other were. Well, now the team is so happy. They're so happy. It's smaller. They can communicate much easier. They have each other's backs, and instead they say, hey, they'll log their time and they'll look, I'm doing, 25 hours on this. Let's find a piece of technology that will replace it. And I've taught them, let's look at the ROI. Let's see what the cost is versus what that is, what you're going to get out of it, and see if it makes sense, which is where the auto coding, it came in. And then the outsource, Liz, is all thanks to you, because you introduced us to PABS, and they just absolutely love them. So we are building our data entry accounting team. So now we have a director of accounting that, communicates and does advisory. And then a lot of the day-to-day accounting work is outsourced, and it just makes things so much easier. And we're growing. We just actually hired 3 salespeople and we have a consultant coming in that's handling the marketing, the sales funnel, and fit is, you guys will see it all over my stuff pretty soon here, but we're looking to quadruple it in the next year, if not more, at least. By this time next year, it should be at least 500 clients.
Okay, all right. I was gonna
And I want to
ask
do
you
it with only like 1 to 2 more people, W-2s on the team. Everything else we should be able to do with our software, our technology, and then some of our outsourced accounting.
That's awesome. I mean, that's a lot of growth, and that's
Yes.
a clear pathway forward.
Mm-hmm.
So here's your secret sauce, how
Okay.
you're doing the work. And we call these internal apps. So it's
Yes.
everything that's back office for your firm. Do you
Yeah,
wanna-
all 3 of my firms. So this kind of crosses over a little bit, just if anybody's confused, or like Client Hub, Teamwork, Carbon, Motion, what's going on? So, like I said, everybody uses a little bit something different. One of my other firms uses Carbon right now, and Fit uses Client Hub. Teamwork we used to use, but now on one side, I keep telling them they need to switch over to Client Hub, but they're using Teamwork, Desk, and Carbon together. Desk is like a ticketing network, and we're a Google company. Everything that I can put on Google is on there. Google, everybody's got hit or miss feelings with that. You love it, or you're in Google or you're Microsoft, right? And the reason I love Google is it integrates with everything, absolutely everything. If you've got a product, it's like you have to integrate with Google. And so the efficiencies that you can create when you use Google are just unlimited. Plus, it's extremely user-friendly. I want to say cost-effective, but they keep raising their prices. But then again, everybody's raising their prices. But definitely Google. OnePass, I've been through about 5 or 6 different password software services. OnePass is by far my favorite, but I do need to say that I am a iOS user, and OnePass works amazingly on iOS. I just really enjoy the security of it. Motion, I personally on my day-to-day stuff use Motion because I'm not managing a team in Glass Wallet. It auto schedules me. They've got some software that I'm like, you need to put that on top of others. Nice Job. If anybody hasn't heard of this, if you need to get reviews, Nice Job is actually pretty cool. They're up and coming, but you connect your clients to them and they connect everywhere that you can leave reviews, and they'll send it out and say, hey, come leave reviews everywhere. So it makes it really easy. Slack is our communication hub. Everything goes into Slack. Absolutely everything. I can have nothing else open except for Slack, and I can know everything that's going on everywhere because I've got a Zap or a connection to Slack. I know if I've got an email. I know if I got a text. I know if my phone rings. I know if somebody assigned a task to me. I know if a task is overdue. My calendars are connected. And I do that for all of my companies because when you do have, one of the problems that people will say is there's too much, there's too many platforms, and now I have to log into 8 different places to understand what everything is. Well, that's not necessarily true. You don't have to if you set it up correctly. And that's why I set up Slack as our hub. As long as everybody has Slack open, they know what everything is going on everywhere. And Kajabi hosts on Fit CFO, it hosts our website, some courses, and it's our CRM tool.
So you're also building your courses there inside of Kajabi?
Yes. Yeah. I do that for Glass Wallet as well. Yeah. Kajabi is very user-friendly for anybody who needs to just set up any sort of marketing or a website or courses. Kajabi is extremely user-friendly.
And we were having a conversation about Kajabi, and for those of you who are familiar with Thinkific, it's like what Sharrin's talking about. It's a little easier to use. It's a little more expensive, but you get what you pay for.
Yeah,
So,
I think mine's like $200 a month or something, but that's like the all pro plan, but it hosts my website, and it just makes it to where you and I that aren't in tech or don't write code, assuming you guys don't write code, we can do all these things on the back end without having to go learn HTML, which I have no desire to do.
Well, and I think that's the biggie right there, is that we want to design courses for our people, but we don't want to have to go and spend hours and hours writing.
No, you just format, make it look pretty, and connect the Stripe account to get paid if that's what you were going to do.
So I'm trying to drop in these URLs in the chat so that way everybody's got them. But I'm going to go ahead and advance us towards the next slide because I want to give you an opportunity to talk through Client Hub. This was the you were talking about you use for workflow, and I want to give you a chance to kind of share some of the highlights.
Absolutely. So this is what my team set up, and I asked them, I said, show me what you're doing and how you're using it. And I wanted to see, I asked them to show me what they love and what they're excited about. And they gave me their spreadsheet. They said, when we onboard a client, we have these set task lists, and everything is assigned to who it needs to be assigned to, including the client. So you have your customer success, which is our onboarding, and then it goes into accounting of where they need to be. And then when that's done, it goes back into their day-to-day. And then we also throw, we don't use a separate software for tax management. We also use Client Hub. So right now we're setting up all the tasks in here to make sure that the client sends us what we need, that we have everything we need. And the good thing is when they send us everything, you can see the attachments. We got document storage in here. It will also show you the communication. So really you can go into a client and see where they're at, what's been done, who's holding it up. It'll notify the client for you, which is great because we assign a lot of tasks to our clients as well. Like sometimes things will go to spam. For example, if you use QuickBooks and you send them uncategorized, the issue that some of us have with the uncategorized sending through QuickBooks is we don't know where it goes to. We have a hard time tracking down to where that invite went through. So now we know we can at least give them a link or put the report in and send it to them here, and they have to go in and they can then get it updated. And it lets us know if we can go in, we're like, why isn't this done? Oh, look, here's this task hasn't been done. Oh, and they viewed it 3 out of 5 times. Oh, they even clicked on it once. So now I know they can't say they haven't seen it. So it really just gives us more of that control and allows us to communicate with our clients better. So our clients don't come to us and say, you never sent that to me, I didn't see it. We're like, well, actually someone did. So it's, like I said, it's been, since we've switched to Client Hub, I can tell you that where is my X calls, X being the project, where is whatever, where is this deliverable, have gone from probably like 10 a day to maybe 1, because they can also see now as well. They can see where we're at.
That's super incredible, because to be able to see where you're at, like I was saying earlier, there's so much information and there's so much status to keep up on that it's difficult to hold all of that in your brain.
Yes. And yes, Melissa just asked if we're a Keeper user. I don't know how I didn't put that in there, or maybe I didn't, but yes, we still use Keeper as well. Keeper does our month-end close. This is all of our tasks, but then we link over to the close on Keeper. I personally even use Keeper for all my project management tool says, hey, close the month. And then it'll link to my Keeper month close, and I can finish everything out in there. So instead of having the step-by-step tasks, because we all know the benefit of Keeper, of course, but I still use my project management tool 100%, because not everything I do has to do with the month-end close, right? So I definitely need a project management tool in line with Keeper. And I use Keeper personally. I use all this stuff personally too. I run my personal life like a business. Surprised.
Heather, you went off of mute. Did you have some thoughts here?
No, I'm good. I was looking at this, as far as I had a couple of questions, and I would love to see, like, when you were talking about across your different companies, you have different tech stacks, and that's fascinating to me. And can you just talk a little bit? And I don't mean to throw you like this question out from left field, but can you talk about what are the things that you look at, when you're looking? You said one of your firms is advisory, so it's advisory and consulting, and one of your firms is production, so bookkeeping and and accounting work. Can you talk about what are the differences in the apps that you've chosen for each one, and maybe really quickly why? So okay. Yeah,
absolutely. So the difference is going to be the person. So I have different people in charge on each levels. And as I said earlier, there's 7 to 9 apps for everything that we need. And it's what works with you. I am more of I need a list and a checklist. On the other side, she's a visual. She uses like the visual colored charts. I can't work that way, but she couldn't work my way. So I had to go to her and say, what works for you? She picked Carbon a while ago. I don't think she she would love to switch to Client Hub, but she's like, I'm in Carbon. I'm in here and I'm in. So anyhow, but for her, it works. The layout works. And it really just has to do with the person and the team and what's there. But my one thing that I make everybody use is Slack. Absolutely. Slack, Google, OnePass. Those are we're using it because I know they integrate. I know I'm very crazy about security. We also use Rippling for our security. We give everybody laptops, and so Rippling has a device agent management tool. So when they load it up, I can then decide what software they get. I can, I have a little bit more control on that back end, which gives me that security. Just in case if a laptop gets stolen, we can just shut it down, and it's really nice. Yeah. So I let them pick on the internal operation client facing stuff because they're the ones that have to deal with it every day. I don't. And for me to say, this is what you're going to use when I did that in the beginning, trial and error, and it just didn't work. And she was failing. But because of me, because I said, this works for me. And so she said, I need something that works for me. And there you go.
So it's not based on the type of work you're doing. It's just based on the preference of your team.
I think it's a preference of the person, because you will get 10 people in front of you and you will show 10 of them the same exact demo. 7 of them will say, that's amazing. 3 of them will go, I don't like it. And it's not that the product isn't good. It's that they learn and they understand and they function differently than the other 7 people.
100%. I agree with you 100% on that. It's, having spent, a decade or so working with, accounting firms and companies to select software, the user interface is actually one of the most important things. It's not the functionality, right?
No.
Functionality is important, right?
It is.
It's actually the user interface and how the person is able to interact with the data and how they process it in their brain. So
it is fully the processing, and and the setup. It really is a setup. I don't want to pay somebody to come in. I mean, I'm the IT, right? I set everything up and I love it. But if I get into something, I'm like, this is gonna take me hours. I'm like, either we hire someone or we use something else because I just can't do it. So fortunately, I think with Client Hub, my team did it on their own. They said they were able to just export and import in and really set up their task lists and get moving. So I was thrilled. I didn't even have to do anything.
It's so easy to set up. It really is one of those products that you don't really need a manual.
No. Oh, and that's what they said. They said this is so simple and simplified, and so Client Hub, I've spent enough time in to understand it, to know it. It's a client facing, and I love what they've done, but I also love that I haven't had to get in it. Like I can tell you teamwork like the back of my hands, because I had to set every piece of that up. I didn't have to set up Client Hub, which I guess is just amazing. My team, all of them, regardless of how they learn, were able to get in and put it how they wanted to do it. And I just went in and said, that makes sense and that works. So good on you.
I mean, there's a lot to be said for simplicity, because some of the more complex task management apps, like Carbon, there's a whole onboarding process, and it does typically take 12 to 16 to be completely functional in those types of applications. So
it really Beth doesn't want to leave. She's all, no, I put too much.
It's a huge investment. Great product, but it's a big investment, especially for a smaller firm. It's you don't have the time for that.
It's definitely for bigger, and to us, I feel like we're more that small to medium. And even as we get bigger, I still want to run in that small to medium size, because I feel like when you get to that large, and no offense to anybody in the large, my personal opinion, I like the small, I like the closeness and the brainstorming and the opportunity to not be so large that we can add in different technology without disrupting the day-to-day of the company. When you get large like that, you can't just add things in. It affects too many people across the board, right? So I like to keep things like under 10 employees so we can all communicate and agree and add in things that we need, again, without disrupting.
It makes me want to ask you a question too. So knowing that you're outsourcing, who is using Client Hub? Just your firm and your internal team, or also your external team?
Anybody, so anybody that comes in on the fit side, even our 1099 CPAs, we put them in Client Hub because they need to be able, anybody who's doing any sort of tasks and functioning with us. The only ones we didn't put in there were our salespeople, because they're in this completely different software that was set up by one of my partner before he left. So they're in there. But all of my accountants, the outsource accountants get in there as well, and our 1099 CPA. So anybody internally that works with the clients. And then of course the clients have access as well. They can also see where everything is, and that's for you to give them. And again, the clients love it because they can log in. They're like, oh, whoops, you haven't done that task because I haven't done my task. So it makes it a little bit easier for us.
The clarity, I just like it. So thanks for answering that question. I kind of threw that one at you. And I'm going to go ahead and just pay some attention to, yes, Melissa, you were asking about Keeper, and yes, Rich, you were asking about Carbon, and yes, Client Hub also. These are workflow tools of different kinds. And I think that Heather and Sharrin, you were doing a nice job of sharing why one over the other. And I think that, Sharrin, you're saying you've used multiple different workflow tools. Heather, so have you. So have I. I mean, it's one of those things that I agree to, that it's the core of your firm. So that's why it's really important to get that piece right.
And it's hard, one of the things I will also say is that it's hard to implement or change a workflow tool once you've built your team.
Yes.
So because it's easier to bring a new person in and say, this is what we use and these are our processes, than to have a whole bunch of people that are working basically siloed individually in their own way and trying to get them onto the same platform, because everyone's brain works differently and change is hard and they're already working. So whenever a ball is already in motion, you've already got that momentum, and when you have to slow it down and make a change, that's really difficult. So
yeah.
What I would say to everybody on this call that's small or just starting, make sure that you're taking the time to set up your processes and pick a good solid workflow solution that you're going to be able to grow with.
Well, and I think that there's some value in one of the things that we've heard here today is that, Sharrin, you're saying we're 100 clients. That's not small. You're 100 clients now, and you're wanting to grow to 500 clients, and you're using Client Hub. And one of the things that you liked about it is that it's got some simplicity built in. So I think that those are all key things to be listening to. Client Hub is definitely affordable. I'm going to be doing a really cool how-to set up Client Hub very soon. So that's kind of coming here in the fall. But one of the things I can tell you, you were talking about setting it up. You can import your activities that you're doing, and it's going to build that list that you've got right there. That customer success tasks, those are all things that you can actually import. So it's going to be cool to do that setup of Client Hub. And we also have Client Hub that's going to be coming on very soon, and they're going to be doing a deep dive.
Yeah, that's coming up very soon. So
it is. I'll get you a date here in just a second. I'm going to go ahead and advance to the next slide because I want to talk about your external apps as well. And while you're talking, I'm going to go get that date for our Client Hub episode.
Well, being an accounting firm, of course, this is what we're using on the fit side. We're a completely QuickBooks online company. We don't use anything else. If you use something else, you have to transfer over. Again, that's just for process, and I for some reason can't say the word right now, for ease, it's simplicity. Anyhow, and because of that, we also use ProConnect for tax. Since everything's in QuickBooks, ProConnect just makes the complete sense. It's very simple, as you all know. Glean is payables is a crazy world in the accounting industry right now. I'm sure we all agree. There have been so many payable tools out there, so many accounts payable. Glean is one that I absolutely love. It's also newer, up and coming, but a small one. I highly recommend it if you have any sort of accrual companies, because what it does is it will actually put in your journal entries for you, your prepaids. It'll let you know, hey, you had a prepaid on this and it's coming up. So what do you want to do with the journal entry? And should you be expecting a new invoice? So it's really interactive. It's great for CFOs. Anchor is my pride and joy. I love Anchor. I met those guys a while ago, and they were just coming to market, and they hadn't had their QuickBooks connection yet. And I said, your product's amazing. What you're about to do is amazing. And I sat with them and said, let's come up with a million ideas. I told them, as soon as you bring a connection to QuickBooks, I will shout your praises from the rooftop. And they did. And they're amazing. And I love Anchor. Anchor is your receivables billing platform. And they're also newer. Again, what I love about the underdog newer platforms is that they listen. They just want to get all the business in, right? So your ideas and how they place it on the roadmap are so important to them. It's everything. So new software tends to listen to us accountants. Just so you know, as an accounting firm, you got some pull with this software. Kodai is the one that I was talking about, the Stripe integration, to where we have a bunch of clients that, like I said, they use Stripe, they use I think one called Waze. There's a bunch of different credit card processing. And what we were doing is every month we were going in and putting in a journal entry, right? To make sure that everything's set and the merchant fees set. And I was like, this is ridiculous. So we're spending like 80 hours a month on our clients doing this. And so we did the cost, and we're like, okay, let's go in. And they chose a Kodai. They went across 4 different platforms as well and chose that one. It's been amazing. They have a free platform, a free up to a certain amount. So I think over 60% of our clients are free, and then we only pay for the other 40% because they have more transactions. And then of course, Rippling. So I'm going to sing some Rippling Gold real quick. Rippling's more than just payroll. Rippling has actually allowed me I had a director of operations that was handling everything internally, because there's a lot. As anybody who has a company knows, running internally, there's so much stuff. And I moved everything to Rippling, and now it does my device management, my app management, my onboarding, my offboarding, just so much that I was able to move my director of operations out of internal and into external. And now she oversees customer success and HR, because I took everything, all the tedious stuff she was doing, I took it away from her, because Rippling manages it now. The computers, somebody's got a problem with the computer, the Rippling agent is installed, I can just go in. If the computer doesn't work, I call up Rippling, and I have one that's in at their warehouse, and they overnight it and get it to them the next day, and the agent's installed and all their apps are installed, and then they give them a box and they ship it back to the warehouse, and the warehouse resets it anyhow. So that's how we've been running, and it's been so smooth. It's unfit. It's just been so smooth. So we're extremely happy. So if I was to tell anyone on my team we're going to change any of this, they'd just quit. They would have a hard time with me. So I do let them get involved in all of it, but for the most part, this is our stack. This is how we run.
I love that you started off by talking about integrations. You started off talking about that you've got workflow at the central, and then you've got these connections that you're making. You were talking about Anchor, and then automation. Do you want to share what you've built in order to connect these apps together?
These are my zaps. I am a zap fiend. I love zaps. I've spent so much time in my zap application. Another platform that I used yesterday, an app, they just opened their API, and I didn't even know, I missed the email, but I saw it says zap connection. I'm like, so everyone's like, what are you doing, Sharrin? I'm like, shut up, making 100 zaps. So Anchor doesn't have a direct into Slack yet, but they have their zaps. So I want to know, and I want my team to know without having to check their email, what's going on. So I set up all the zaps. So whenever we send out a proposal to a client, that we have a channel, and it'll go tick, tick, tick. Proposal went out to so-and-so for this much. Here's the link to it. So everybody on the channel can see and go click. If it's approved, if it's terminated, just everything. If an invoice is issued, if a payment failed. So in our Slack channel, our communication hub, we can see everything we need to know about our invoicing and our billing without having to log into the product, check out the product, make sure we didn't miss an email. It sends us in real time exactly what has happened. So these are my zaps directly related to Anchor.
Well, thanks for sharing that, because I think that it's important that everybody knows, apps talking to each other is important. And, we've got a question here that came in from Murph, and it's a good one. So You said, uh-oh. I know, he always asks good questions. He's asking, as a just average, on average, how many different apps do you think are actually are supporting your clients? So
Supporting my
supporting
clients or the
apps.
operational?
So
What does your typical client use? So but thinking about your typical client and your app stack that are customer facing, what percentage of your clients are actually using the apps?
That's a good one. The clients, a lot of them don't touch it. They're really for our support to give the client what they need. So I think the clients might get into Keeper. They definitely get into Client Hub. They're usually sharing stuff with us in One Pass, definitely QuickBooks. And then absolutely Glean if we're doing their payables because they have to approve. So I'd say 5 to 6, but that's where we link it all into Client Hub, to where then instead of them having to go to the 5 or 6 different apps, we put the task and the link in, so they click on the link and they know where to go. And again, that's what's really important to us, is to not have to send them where to go. They know to go to one place, look here, and if there's a link to go somewhere else, it's there, but they know that's the one place to look.
Well, you're getting kudos for your app stacks, and I don't want to leave these out because you had shared with us, you've got these other apps that aren't really client facing, they're not really external, but they are apps that your team uses. So
There are
there's
some more
a
apps.
lot of good apps that are here. And Karen, she's even talking about thanks for sharing your app stack because there's a lot to learn.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. And I've made a lot of mistakes. And by mistakes, I don't necessarily mean that I've used something that isn't good. I have used something that I thought was amazing because I jumped on it and I didn't think through the process. So when it comes to your apps and your technology, think through the process. Understand, I have this amazing workflow thing that I can send you guys to send out to your people if you want. I should have given it to you beforehand, but I didn't think into it now. And what it does is you put in what each of your apps are, and before you move to something, you see how they should connect and where they should connect to. And if they don't connect, then hey, I need to find a solution for this instead. So
that's awesome.
Setting up your tech is amazing. Setting up the wrong tech can hurt you so bad. So always think it through and make sure your process makes sense.
Well, if you share over that resource, we will link that on our website. So that way everybody who watches this recording can see that resource as well. I'm sure they'll love it. I think that we've talked throughout today about vendor relationships. So really this is all about connecting with the apps. And it's like you said, some of these apps that are willing to listen to you are the ones that of course you're going to connect with because they're actually meeting the needs. So I'm going to go ahead and continue to say it's super impressive to have these relationships, not only for your clients, but your teams benefit from these relationships. And I get it that it takes time to invest in them, but going to conferences, reaching out, going to, even virtual conferences that get you in the same area, emailing the app and saying, hey, this is like a really great feature. Thank you. Nothing else. But those are the kinds of things that just help to make a app partner stronger.
Absolutely. I especially want to work with apps that, care, that I know they care, and not one that, oh, you're going to my queue and I'll talk to you someday, but the ones that are like, hey, I see you said this, let's talk it through. I love that.
Me too. And Carrie's saying, hey, she wants to see the workflow connector. So
I will definitely send that over.
Heather, do you want to close us out here?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Sharrin, first of all, I just want to say thank you. This has been fantastic. Thanks for taking the time to show us your tech stack and share with all of our friends. For our friends, don't forget to visit the websites that Liz shared in the chat, and our sponsors' websites. Thank you to all our sponsors for making this possible. Make sure you join the Happy Hour Lounge Facebook group. There's a link right there. That's where you can talk to each other and keep the conversation going after our happy hours. And then register for Zoom. If you're joining us on Facebook live right now, we are in Zoom and there's a Q&A panel and some chat, and it's a lot of fun in here that you might be missing out on. So definitely do that. And then visit our website. So thehappyhour.com is our website. And there you can find recordings of previous happy hour episodes. You can also find our drink recipes that we share for all of our app sponsors. And you can also read our blog. We have lots of great resources for you. We have over 100 videos on our YouTube channel and on our website. So please do check that out. If there's an app that you're looking to learn more about, chances are we have an episode about it. So go check it out. We're really excited. We're going to be having one of our newer sponsors, Forwardly, which is an instant payment solution. Definitely don't want to miss that episode on September 26th. They are, as Sharrin said, one of the newer apps on the market, and they're doing something that no other payment app is doing. So very excited to have them on. We met with them today, and you definitely don't want to miss that episode. And then, as Liz mentioned, and as Judy's joining us today too from Client Hub, we're going to be doing a deep dive in Client Hub. We've talked a lot about it today and how it is an integral part of Sharrin's tech stack. If you want to learn more about the features and whether or not Client Hub is right for your firm, make sure that you join us on October 10th at 4 p.m. Eastern time, 1 p.m. Pacific. And then if you're in Central, I believe it's somewhere in between that. And then on the 24th, we're going to have another firm spotlight. So stay tuned for that. So lots of great things happening. A couple of other things that I would love to mention is that Liz and I will both be at QuickBooks Connect, which is coming up in November. So we'd love to see you there. And this is really exciting. And I don't have a slide for it yet, but I do have an article that we've published out. So if you go to our website, there's information about it. Liz and I will be joining the Woodard Ideal Practice Symposium Tour that is happening this fall in 4 cities across the US. So we're really excited. We have not been on tour together in a very long time. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And at the Woodard curriculum will be taught the 7 ideals or the 7 principles of the ideal practice. And Liz and I will be leading the process and technology sessions, and we'll be doing a live happy hour broadcast at each of the events. So we'll be in California. I think we're in Costa Mesa, California. We'll be in Austin, Texas. Super excited for that. My daughters, all of them, are going to Austin this week for my daughter's bachelorette.
Oh, wow.
We're also going to be in Atlanta, Georgia, and we will be we'll be wrapping up the tour in northern New Jersey in the greater Philadelphia area. So I really hope to see you guys at the symposiums. They're going to be a lot of fun. It's been a long time since we've had these road shows in your neighborhood. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me or Liz, and we can get you more information on that. So hope to see you there. Well, Sharrin, thank you. And Liz, always great to see you. So great to see all of our friends. We will see you in just a couple of weeks.
Absolutely. Thanks for hanging out with us today. Bye, everyone.
Take care.